I never thought I'd end up back in my grandparents' basement after college, but here I am, surrounded by cardboard boxes filled with my hopes and dreams. Well, mostly just old textbooks and a collection of Stephen King novels the first read 100 times over. Jimmy, dinner's ready. Grandma's voice echoes down the stairs. Coming, I call back, quickly minimizing the browser window where I'd been scrolling through job listings. None of them seemed quite right for an aspiring horror writer with an English degree and zero real-world experience. I trudge up the stairs, the smell of pot roast filling my nostrils. It's comforting, in a way, like I'm back in high school again. Except now I'm 25 and directionless. How's the job hunt going? Sport Grandpa asks as I settle into my usual spot at the dinner table. I shrug, pushing mashed potatoes around my plate. Still looking. Turns out next Stephen King isn't a job title many places are hiring for. Grandma pats my hand. You'll find something, dear. You're so talented. After dinner, I retreat to the backyard, rolling a joint with practiced ease. The weed helps quiet the constant chatter in my brain, the endless loop of self-doubt and what-ifs. I take a long drag, holding the smoke in my lungs before exhaling slowly. The sun's setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. It's beautiful, but all I can think about is how I'd describe it in a story. Maybe something about blood-stained clouds or the day bleeding out. Christ, no wonder I can't get published. My phone buzzed in my pocket, snapping me out of my hazy thoughts. It was Larissa. I smirked, remembering the series of messages we'd exchanged earlier that week. I opened the chat, and there she was, her profile picture a sign of how much she'd changed since high school, a confident grin against the backdrop of some beach. Our conversation started out innocent enough, catching up on life, mutual friends, her recent move back. Then they took a turn, a hot, electrifying turn. Remember when we skipped Mrs. Cantrell's class junior year, she had asked earlier. I did. I couldn't help but laugh. Yeah, we thought we were so rebellious. And clumsy, too, she added. We had no idea what we were doing. Reading that made me flush, my mind flooded with memories of sweaty palms and awkward fumbles. But the exchange turned me on too, her words stoking a fire that had been dormant for years. Tonight, her message read, "What are you doing?" Just hanging out in the backyard. Finished a joint. You, I replied, my fingers tapping quickly. Feeling lonely. Thinking about you popped up on the screen. That was all the nudge I needed. Why don't you come over? I texted back, my heart rate spiking. Be there in 15. True to her word, Larissa showed up pretty quickly. I couldn't help but sneak a glance at her the moment she walked through the backyard gate. Strawberry blonde hair slightly tousled, green eyes twinkling in the dim light. Hey, stranger, she greeted, a playful glint in her eyes. I stood up, suddenly acutely aware of the energy between us. Couldn't stay away, huh? She rolled her eyes but smiled. The nostalgia got the better of me with that. She was close enough to touch. Want to head inside? She nodded, and we made our way down to the basement. It was my sanctuary, cluttered with books and notebooks. Larissa plopped down on the worn-out couch, pulling me down beside her. We talked for a bit, gentle jabs and genuine laughs filling the room, but it didn't take long before words gave way to silence. I leaned in, capturing her lips with mine. From there, things escalated fast. The physicality of our reconnection had an urgency, like we were both trying to reclaim something we'd lost over the years. Larissa's touch felt different now, more assured, more deliberate. I hadn't forgotten the way she felt, but this was new territory entirely. Missed this, she murmured between kisses. Me too, I managed to gasp. We shifted, trading roles. The space between us was heavy, but not with awkwardness. It felt like an old wound being reopened, but not in a bad way, in a way that lets you feel the life and pain that once flowed through. Didn't expect that to happen tonight, she whispered, breaking the silence. Life's full of surprises, I replied, finally turning to look at her. Her green eyes held mine, and for once, I felt something like certainty. A week drifted by, marked by the usual haze of time spent in my grandparents' basement. Just as I was beginning to feel the walls closing in, Larissa texted Alicia's visiting her parents. Want to hang out? Larissa and Alicia, my two high school wildcards, bored and itching for excitement, definitely sounded like a needed detour from my daily routine of weed and writer's block. I told Larissa to bring Alicia over to my place. When the doorbell rang, I opened it to find Larissa's familiar mischievous grin, but it was Alicia who made me blink twice. She looked different. Slimmed down since high school, her dark brown hair framed her now more defined round face. But the smile was the same, warm and inviting. Jimmy Alicia's voice brought me back. Long time, huh? Yeah, ages. I stepped aside, letting the girls in. How have you been? Alicia shrugged. You know, the usual. Just working and trying new cake recipes. We settled into my cluttered living room, the girls taking the couch while I pulled up an old chair. Larissa scooted closer to me, her body language leaving no room for doubt. Her thigh pressed against mine, sending little jolts through me. Nostalgia wrapped around us like a snug, familiar blanket. So what's new? Jimmy Alicia asked, her eyes darting around the room, taking in the stacks of books and scattered notebooks. Not much, I admitted, scratching my still short beard. Trying to write, you know. Still on that horror kick, Larissa nudged me, a sly smile playing on her lips. Always. I pulled out a joint, sparking it up and taking a long drag before passing it to Alicia. As we smoked, the weed worked its usual magic, sharpening sensations and blurring the edges of reality. An electric honesty hung in the air. Remember when you never touched this stuff? Larissa teased, her green eyes twinkling. You were such a goody two-shoes. Always reading, never breaking the rules. Guess you corrupted me, I shot back, feeling a genuine smile spread across my face. Oh please, Alicia interjected, exhaling a cloud of smoke. Her voice dropped, heavy with desire and frustration. I could use some corrupting myself. It's been dry spells and dull nights for too long. Larissa's grin widened, almost predatory. If you're looking for excitement, I think Jimmy and I might have some stories to share. Right, Jimmy? She leaned in closer, her breath hot against my ear. I glanced at Alicia, whose eyes sparkled with curiosity and something deeper, a yearning that matched my own. Care to elaborate? Alicia's tone was daring, her posture relaxed yet charged with anticipation. You know what was wild? Larissa's voice cut through the ambient noise. Last time with Jimmy. Alicia, sitting cross-legged on the floor, perked up, her eyes wide with curiosity. Her reaction was almost cartoonish, like a kid hearing a spooky story at camp. She leaned forward slightly, unable to hide her interest. He was something else, Larissa continued, her tone low, almost conspiratorial. She reached for the hem of her shirt and casually pulled it over her head. Every movement she made seemed more deliberate in the charged atmosphere. For a moment, I was caught between disbelief and something raw, more primal. The weed buzzed through my veins, making everything sharper, more intense. Before I knew it, my hands were on Larissa's shoulders. Alicia, don't just watch. Join us, I suggested, my voice low. It came out almost as a command, driven by the intensified atmosphere. Alicia's hesitation melted away as she moved closer, her hands tentatively beginning to massage Larissa. Larissa arched her back, her body silent but pleading for more. It was contagious, this shared moment of physical connection. Switch, I asked, my hands pausing briefly on Larissa's lower back. Alicia nodded, a silent agreement that reflected the growing bond between us. She laid down face first on the bed, her back arching slightly in anticipation. I moved closer, my hands starting to roam over her smooth skin, feeling every tense muscle, every slight shiver. Meanwhile, Larissa, with eyes darkened by fun, shifted her focus to Alicia's legs. The basement, once a place of mundane reality, transformed into something entirely different, a world of skin and heat and desire. The basement felt like a furnace, thick with the humid mix of sweat and desire. My fingers slipped down there. Alicia was a symphony of need, every part of her wanting more. Larissa, with a wicked grin, sent me a knowing glance. She joined mine hand. I watched in fascination as Larissa started using her lips. Not wanting to be sidelined, I positioned myself behind Alicia. The view was amazing. Alicia was lost in the waves crashing over her. Watching the two women, I felt a connection deeper than the physical. It's like the boundaries of our bodies blurred. There was no rushing, no urgency, just pure, unfiltered exploration. After everything, Larissa nestled against my side, her strawberry blonde hair tangled and wild. Alicia's head rested against her, fingers brushing idle patterns over Larissa's freckled shoulder. "I'm not sure I can move," Alicia murmured, her voice sleepy but content. "Who knew you had it in you?" Jimmy, Larissa teased, her hand drifting lazily over my chest. "All those horror novels must have paid off." I chuckled, a wave of satisfaction washing over me. "Guess I unlocked a new level." Alicia laughed, pushing herself up on one elbow. "You guys are bad influences." Her eyes sparkled with mischief. "But wow, what a night." We lay there, lingering in the afterglow. The room seemed different, softer, warmer. Every breath, every shared glance felt more profound. It was as if we had peeled back layers of ourselves and found something pure and unfiltered beneath. "I have to admit," Alicia said, still half lost in her bliss, "I never thought I'd be doing something like this back in our old hometown." "Always full of surprises," Larissa quipped, her fingers tracing circles on Alicia's hip. "I could get used to this," I said, though I felt the weight of reality creeping back in. "But I guess we can't make this a regular thing, right?" Larissa stretched, cat-like, her body arching against me. "Nah, we probably can't, but that won't stop us from remembering tonight. It'll be our little secret." Alicia raised herself slightly, her hand now resting possessively over Larissa. "You mean our not-so-little secret?" she giggled, then kissed Larissa's shoulder, her lips lingering. In moments like these, time seemed to stretch, blur. We bantered, teased, and held each other close. Every touch, every shared whisper cemented our bond further. We knew that life might pull us in different directions soon, but tonight, we were entangled in a way that transcended the ordinary. Alicia, emboldened by their shared adventures, explored the ridges of Larissa's back. It wasn't about starting something anew, it was savoring remnants of our earlier intimacy. "Jimmy, you've really stepped up," Alicia said, leaning into Larissa, her gaze locking onto mine with a blend of admiration and playful challenge. "Did you take notes or something?" I smirked, pulling them both closer. "Nah, it's just you two bring out the best in me." Larissa chuckled, her voice a soothing hum. "Maybe we should give you a badge of honor or something." With that, we drifted into silence again, holding each other, basking in the comfort of our shared warmth. Reality loomed, but for now we had this. The basement, filled with the remnants of our passionate exploration, echoed with our laughter and whispers. It was a night that, despite the impossibility of repeating, would be etched into our memories forever.